we're going. I just started the webinar. And we're just starting a little bit early so that those who are here can get settled in. And to admit that this, apparently Martin is an old pro at running Zoom webinars, but I am certainly not. So I figured we'd start a little early just to make sure that we're all settled in here. And we have just a minute before we officially start. So
I think Martin's just an old pro. That's all. That's it.
Martin, you can't get too old. I'm older than you.
It looks like we have quite the audience today.
Yes, and thank you. I do appreciate, and just a quick note that I'm thrilled that you're here, and we've said in various places we are going to be recording this. So if there's anything, you know, somebody asks a question or anything that you want to catch again, you will be able to. We'll let you know about that, so you'll watch your email on it.
Michael, we can talk about age, can't we? And Michael says, hear you loud and clear. Let's not talk about age, please. And it's like, we can talk about age. It's okay. It's just a number. Don't worry about it. It's fine. But I'm glad everything's working because we were obviously disappointed that we couldn't deliver the content for you last week. We've updated the content for you, so hopefully you'll enjoy this session.
Okay. All right. Well, I just learned something already new on this software, but it is now the top of the hour, and we always start on time. So here we go, folks. How you doing? It's turbulent times, and we've put together this webinar, Martin Bissett and myself, Gabrielle Fontaine, because as the team of Advisor Plus, who supports accountants and bookkeepers in the advisory role, boy, is there a time like none other right now for us to be advising our clients, helping them, and of course, helping ourselves in the process. So we have some helpful information to share with you. If you were with us last week when we attempted this webinar, in a way, it's kind of a blessing that the snafu with the software happened, because we have more resources for you. And so that leads us to some of the housekeeping, just quickly to mention to you, is that you'll see in the chat box, we have links for the handouts. And in the first handout, you'll see that if you got that last time, there's been a lot more added to it, a lot more resources, because things have changed around us as far as what we can be doing to assist our clients. So do download those anytime during the webinar. And then also, we will be taking questions. A big chunk of this webinar is going to be answering your questions, and then just as a community, sharing and supporting and helping one another. So please, for that, use the questions, the Q&A box, because that'll make it much easier for us to keep up with your questions so that we can answer them. And with us is Martin Bissett. Say hello, Martin.
Hello, Martin. How is everybody? Guys, I'm already seeing the Q&As saying, wait, there's no this, wait, there's no that. Calm down, relax, everything's okay. Stay out of the chat box, into the Q&A. Everything's fine. So guys, just everything through the Q&A, please, today. We'll answer all the questions at appropriate junctures. And looking forward to going through. We have a particular structure for the session today. So ask everyone to stay alert, stay focused, stay engaged. And we'll give you the very latest up-to-date information that we have. And you'll see the links coming in due course as well. So everybody's getting really, already we're straight away saying, where's the link? Where's the PDF? Where's the link? Where's the PDF?
Go to the chat. Go to the chat part.
Calm down. We'll make that enabled for you. But in the meantime, guys.
Well, that is a question I want to ask. Can everybody see the chat box right now? Do you see the links for the handouts in the chat box?
They don't see it because the chat is not enabled for them.
Okay.
At this time. That's why we're sticking to the Q&A for now. So
okay.
coming back to that, guys. Okay, so we know the chat is disabled, so nobody else needs to tell me that. About 40 of you are already telling me that, I know. You don't need to tell me that, I understand that. The PDFs will be made available to you, so don't worry about that. That's coming your way. But first, we have content for you. So like I say, with the questions, please throw in the questions as the content's presented, and we will come back to you as fast as we can on the answers. I'm keeping an eye on the Q&A box today, so I'll be looking for the answers for you as quick as I can.
Okay, very good. Well, with that, let's get started. So we're going to cover, as Martin said, we have kind of 4 different buckets that go to this webinar, and we want the biggest bucket to be answering your questions. So good on everybody who's already using the questions box, so good for you. But we're going to cover perspective, facts, tips, and then the questions piece of it. And I forgot to disable something, so we'll just put up with it. So the first part is perspective, and we will be covering four key pieces for each of these areas, except the questions, that's your part. But we will jump into our first perspective, and Martin's going to lead off this one.
Thank you, Gabrielle. So guys, I'm having a lot of conversations in the UK and in the US and in Central Europe. I have probably about 5 to 10 conversations per day, every day, including the weekend, from practice leaders on micro firms, bookkeeping firms, large globals, and so on. And I noticed straight away that we're a lot calmer here in the UK than the US appears to be. And I'm taking that from the conversations I'm having and what is happening with the clients, your clients over there. And what I need you to understand is that what we are going through now is unprecedented, okay? So therefore, we don't know how long things are going to take to return to normal. However, we know that in terms of things like the market, and that's always a good barometer of confidence, we have seen worse than this, and therefore we do have a precedent. And that is that after 9/11, when the market tanked, and everyone panicked. It returned to pre-9/11 levels. The market did. That's the I'm talking about the Dow Jones Industrial Average there. Within 57 days, it was back in 57 days. During the global economic crisis of 2008, which again was worse than what we're going through right now, with much further greater ramifications economically, that one took a lot longer to correct, but still corrected itself in 16 to 17 months, certainly short of 18 months. So I know that a lot of people are calling you with all kinds of questions. I see a lot around with 401ks at the moment. Should I withdraw my 401k because it's tanking? No, it's supposed to tank right now. When a market tanks, any 401k invested in stocks and shares also tanks. But it rebounds. The market always corrects. What clients need from you right now is calm, steadiness, surety. And you're your client's commercial compass right now. And we seem to be getting there now in the UK. It's taken us about 4 weeks, but we seem to now be understanding that from an accounting and bookkeeping perspective. And we're doing, there's some great work being done by firms over here. I'm really, really impressed with them. Delighted it's happening. And over in the US, same situation, or North America, if you're in from Canada today, we welcome you and we ask you to understand your role right now. Your role right now is to provide calm and surety for your clients because they're panicking and they don't need you to be panicking at the same time. They need to know what to do. They need to know where to go. They need to know what to think about and what not to think about. They need to know how to interpret government legislation and how not to interpret government legislation. So you are their commercial compass right now. You're the one who's directing them. And that's probably the message I would put out. If I could shout it and not be socially inappropriate on a webinar, I would shout it. But it would just be calm right now. And you might say, I can't be calm, I'm losing my head. I can't be calm, I'm losing my business. I can't be calm, I've got the kids at home. I can't be calm. You can be. You can be and you need to be because the alternative's worse. So understand that with all this trusted advisor marketing all this year and all these years and all of this, we're here for you. We're not just bookkeepers and accountants. Now it's time to walk the talk. Now it's time to prove it because now the clients are calling to find out what they should do. They're trusting you and they need you to be there for them and to be steady as a rock because otherwise it all goes wrong very quickly. So that's the very first perspective I wanted to put to you. I wanted to set that as the tone for our session today. I'm not seeing a lot of it in other sessions. So this is a big sort of macro 35,000 foot view is understand that this will pass. Understand that we've had worse. Can you imagine social media in World War II age? Could you imagine that? Going on for 4.5 years. relax, and understand that this will pass. And when it passes, more and more and more and more of your clients will have seen your true colors. So if you've been steady in the storm, they will see exactly why they should stick with you for the long term and increase their engagements with you. And if you've been as panicky as they are, well, then they'll be forgiven for looking around at other alternatives once the storm has passed. So you're your client's commercial compass, point them in the right direction with steadiness, is my first piece of perspective. Let's go to our second. The second perspective that I want to bring out is just to go into a bit deeper dive on what I just said. 2008 was a bigger economic disaster than this one currently is. Now, I fully understand that because we don't know how long this is going to last, this could become bigger. I get that. But right now, it's not. And if we look at all major markets, because again, that's the best barometer of consumer confidence, then they have been up across the board. That is the S&P 500, Dow Jones Industrial Average, the NASDAQ, the FTSE 100, the FTSE 250, the FTSE All-Share, the Asian and European markets. They've all been up since last Thursday. Okay, so I think we are starting to see, because another piece of perspective over here that the media are not reporting, is that according to government health statistics, we've had fewer and fewer new cases reported since Saturday. So Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, the number has fallen 4 days straight. I don't know today's stats, obviously. We won't know until tomorrow. But once again, it has relaxed. The deaths are still rising, obviously, because we're still getting the whip effect, the backlash effect of all of the cases that have been reported to date. And obviously that's horrible. But the trend is a decrease in the UK. In the US, I know you have pockets of of hot point issues, California, New York specifically. But I expect you to follow the same trend over this next 14 to 21 days, where new cases are going to drop. Bear in mind that for safety reasons as well, everything's getting classed as corona. If you've got pneumonia, it's currently corona. So not every single case reported as corona actually is corona as well, because there's a number of reports about that. So understand, again, to linking with my first point, understand that we've seen worse, come back from worse, and prospered after worse. So this is simply a time to ride out the storm and nothing else, and be there for clients who need you at this time, who need their own perspective, they need guidance, and they need guidance from people who know what they're talking about. So that's perspective 2.
All right. Well, it's perspective 3, although I know sitting here in the US, you're right. The feeling is quite a bit different, I'd say. And we shall see. I do agree that the next couple of weeks are going to be an interesting ride for sure, and that we do need to steady our clients. And just kind of echoing some of what Martin has said is that we need to remember that it won't always be this way. And if you can think of any dark time, either in your business or in your life, when you were going through a very stressful time, it's a huge help to know it's just not always going to be this way. But the good news, and I do see it as good news, is our lives and our businesses will never be the same. And I said that early on, and now I'm starting to hear it all around too, that a big example is many of us are already working from home or working virtually and have been for years, but then there are others of all small businesses who are now being forced immediately into working through the internet where they hadn't in the past. Once this crisis settles down and things go back to quote unquote normal, I suspect that what we'll have by the end of the crisis started to feel normal, doing more online and maybe less physical travel, is going to become the new normal. And it could be a very good thing, at least in our practices, for sure. I mean, I've been totally virtual since 2003. So to me, this is very normal to be working this way, but many others aren't. They're going to start liking the convenience. Now, maybe if you've been forced into it, you maybe feel a little flustered and so forth. But once you get your systems down, you're going to start realizing this is a much more efficient way to work, much more convenient for both you and your clients. And I believe that that's going to stick well after the virus is not such a big issue for us anymore. So take that perspective, that know that whatever difficulties you're facing, it's only temporary, it's not going to last. And also that be willing to see the opportunities to improve your practice and help you improve your clients' functions too, their operations, by using the technology that we do have available to us. And then perspective number 4 is a quote from one of my clients who I just thought was brilliant. He said that what we should be doing now, if we're leading our clients, if we are truly stepping into that role of trusted advisor and not cowering in the corner and worrying about shuttering our business or abandoning our clients to face the the economic foes themselves, we should step up and realize that we're going to tell stories after this is over. You know, we talk about September 11th. We always remember, where were we at that time, what happened, and so forth. And we think of all the heroes that emerged during that time. Right now, we would say that our medical people are on the front lines on the health side of it. So who's on the front line right now on the economic side of it, helping the small businesses? We want to be living the story that right now that we want to tell about after this is all over. So think of that, and it will help you to stand up tall and realize, what can I do with what I have? What can I contribute to things weathering it well, upward spiral, doing better, and helping our clients see the opportunities and not just the threats. So that's it's a mindset thing, but the perspective to adopt, because it will help pull you out of any worry and, you know, just spinning in place type of thought pattern. So now we'll move on to facts. And our first fact is by Martin.
Yeah, and this is, again, those first 4 pieces of perspective there was to give you some outside of your own immediate view approach. Again, we're taking feedback now from tens of thousands of different clients and firms, and also territories as well. Now, for example, we have a guest with us today from Italy, and of course, Italy are comfortably the hardest hit, I think, in Europe and North America at this time, and their situation is extreme and it's acute. And so when I give the stats, such as the market recovery stats that I just gave, then of course I'm referring to to UK and North America with that. And of course there are pockets where things are much worse. However, governmental support is unprecedented, and as we're broadcasting to you, I have on a separate screen my feed from our own government, who gives their updates about 4 or 5 o'clock each afternoon. And what's fascinating is that in today's update, which is going on as we're broadcasting, the government are currently reminding the banks of how the taxpayers stepped up to bail them out in 2008, which is now suggesting that even more support will be announced in the coming days. And generally, we've seen that these are fairly broad measures. What the UK and US governments do are fairly aligned. The government seemed to be losing patience with lenders. I'm guessing now that there's been enough time since the support has been announced that when people are actually going to lenders to get support, that the same bureaucracy is being applied, even though they're supposed to be more lenient than they used to be. So the government update today very much reminding the banks that what their role is and how they were bailed out of their own crisis in 2008, and then they now need to return the favour. So very interesting piece of comment there. So the support that is been announced certainly in the UK, and I'm just getting to sort of grips with the CARES Act in the US now to understand its full reach. For most people in the UK, and there are obviously people like myself, company directors, who haven't quite got the same level of backing yet, but I think that will come over time. It's unprecedented. So it's not like there is a crisis that we're being hung out to dry on, and it's everyone for themselves. That is not the case. And although the government will surely want this back in taxation in future years, the money that they're giving out now, nevertheless, the support is there for the vast majority of us. Not all, but most. So we have to keep that as well in place, because there's a lot of online talk I see about criticism over the way governments are handling things that they've never handled before. I would like to see the people who are criticizing handle this situation. And surely the government's approaches all over the world will not be perfect, will be flawed, and so on. But if those people complaining would like to stop complaining and just go and help the effort, as there's no shortage of food banks to go and support right now, then we probably get some fixes done faster. So facts, guys. Stick to perspective, stick to facts. The fact is that in most territories, governmental support is unprecedented, and while it is not a catch-all, a cure-all, or a fix-all, it is still bigger than we've seen historically. So that's the first fact I want to put across to you. The second one is that whenever that mist comes down, and I know what I'm referring to here, I have experienced this firsthand, and I'm sure you guys have experienced it as well. When panic and fear set in, they obscure judgment and wisdom. And even when this started, I spoke to my advisor. I said, what about this and what about that? And I had a negative tone to me, and he had to correct me because he's always calm. And it just drove home to me as I looked elsewhere and heard other people's stories that we need good judgment in times like this for ourselves, for our homes, for our own personal financial budgets, as well as our companies, as well as our employees, to support our employees. We need judgment and wisdom critically at this point in time. And panic and fear, are the absolute opposites of that. So we cannot afford ourselves, as difficult as it is to wonder what ifs, and as difficult as it is to think, are we ever going to survive? This affects us all. So it's not like, if you're losing out, we're all losing out. If I lose out, we're all losing out. So it's all in us together. So we must understand that for our own sake, and for our client's sake, and for our staff's sake, or our team's sake, then we need to be the leadership at this time. And judgment and wisdom cannot operate in an environment of panic and fear. So I want to make that point very clear, because on social media, in professional services groups, it does not appear to be well understood.
Okay, very good. And I echo again Martin's thoughts on how unprecedented the governmental help is at this point, or support. And I have been slamming through, and I see that Gary has as well, looking at you might see those letters in there of the EIDL and the PPP package, and all of these are part of the CARE Act. And when you dig into it and find out all the facts, which I highly recommend that you do, you'll find that there's some great opportunities for your own business if you need it, and also for your clients. And what I'm finding just on the street, that there's a great deal who know about, there's this big thing changed and there's stuff available, but they don't know the specifics. We can dig in and find that. And if you do that, that'll help get right out of any of the panic, because it's an amazing package. And like Martin said, what my intel is telling me too is this is only the first phase. So because they realize how long this crisis can last, it's going to last a few months overall, that we will continue to get support. So that's a positive feature. And I guess when we're at the end, we'll be giving you all the handouts. In the handout, that since last week, we've had a ton more resources, including how you can help your clients with the stimulus package, whatever we want to call it, the relief, the care. And then also we have some of the Canadians government as well has been stepping up and supporting. So here's the thought. Again, a positive shift, the opposite direction of where most people are worried about gloom and doom and everything collapsing. Fortunes are actually made in difficult times. And the enduring principle of when there is a need, that's what people will pay for. Well, we have huge needs right now, and our clients will pay us for helping them, not only helping their business survive, but in the long run, thriving by making wise choices. Because taking on loans and so forth sounds my initial reaction was, yeah, sure, right. We'll go way into debt. We'll just take on the money now and then we'll go out of business later. But now that I've looked into what's available, there's some really good opportunities here. And our clients need our help, because they need our help to understand it. And then they need our help to advise them on the best combination that they can use in their business situation. So there's a lot of positive opportunity here that can help grow our business too. And then, of course, focus on their cash flow, because that's what your clients are focused on. Because the fact is, in normal times, the number one reason for business failure is a lack of cash flow. And that means 82% of businesses that go out of business, it's because they don't know how to handle the cash. We can help them with that. Also with forecasts and just helping them to find extra cash in the short term until relief can kick in. We can do all those things. Trust your own expertise that you have something very valuable to help your clients to move forward. And again, ultimately uncover opportunities that maybe they hadn't heard of before. And, you know, I've spoken with several of my clients. Brainstorm with your clients ideas that they could use now to maybe open up new revenue streams for them. They will love you for that. So it's only good that will come out of it. Your relationship and the loyalty of your clients will actually get much stronger. And that's all because we're filling that need of helping them with their cash flow, which we should have been doing anyway. So it helps. So now we're just drilling down to the next level of some more tips to help move forward. And we want to get through these so that we can now start hearing your questions. So start thinking about the questions and challenges that you're facing specifically right now that you want to talk about with this whole group and with us. And we'll talk about those. So Martin, take it away.
Yeah, so I wanted to sort of bear in mind the cadence of this presentation today. The perspective came came before the tips, and the tips came before the facts, and the facts came before the tips. The perspective was to set the tone for today's presentation, and the facts were to get you away from the media panic. Understand that the media is designed to frighten you. So if we focus on it and we watch it a lot, you know, that's what they're hoping for, so they can sell you some advertising. So on that point, you know, now, what's the reality now? And the reality is that I have, like I say, spoken to a number of different sizes of organizations, whether they are bookkeepers, whether they are sole practitioners, whether they are 6- and 7-figure firms or beyond. And what I noticed is in the first week of this, firms moved to get their own cash flow in order, as would be expected. They built their own boats to make sure they didn't sink in all of this, which is exactly as it should be. Then they were firefighting in the second stage and just taking clients' calls as they were coming in and trying to provide answers as they were known at that time. And then after that, after those first two stages, there's then a direct shift in two types of behaviors that I've seen firms do. The third then decided that they trusted their team to work at home and got their team into remote working situations with the IT to cover it very, very quickly indeed. Dealt with the laptops, got the provisions in place, got Zoom calls or other video conference software calls set up to report at the end of the day and meet at the start of the day, and they were very quick. Others carried on going and carried on working and carried on keeping the team in. Then, in the fourth week, which is the week just gone, I have finally seen the firms go out proactively to their clients. And they have sometimes organized their client base by the most vulnerable first. They have organized their clients by grade A first to protect the high-end fees and so on. But what they have done is they have gone to their clients and asked them, the proactive ones, asked them about their clients' personal financial standing, not their corporate financial standing. So having got their own four walls in place, and by four walls, I mean, you know, transportation, accommodation, utilities, food, you know, they've then put their own, you know, they've then got that in place for their clients as well. And they've asked their team members and they've asked their clients if they've got personal budgets in place. And I have never seen that happen before proactively. So I would ask you to consider the possibility of proactively reaching out to your clients if you haven't already, and if you can get out of firefighting mode. If you are still in firefighting mode, then I understand we have to deal with things in an event-driven way. But if you can, and you have the ability, and your team has the ability, your clients are responding extremely well to being contacted proactively without prompting and being asked how they are doing in a personal financial setting, not just a corporate financial setting. Okay, so those 4 walls are: do you have enough out of your business to look after your mortgage or rent, your food, your utilities, and your transportation? Can you keep the lights on and the 4 walls in place in this period, and how long for? And what needs to happen? Don't take more money out of the business than that. That's what they're asking their clients to report. And for many of us, for many business owners, speaking as one myself, we are not so financially literate to have thought of that ourselves automatically. So that's a huge piece of value that's being offered for nothing. And is getting a huge amount of goodwill as a result. I've seen that coming now from probably only about 1 in 10 firms, but nevertheless, that's still a huge number of businesses being helped. So that's tip number 1. Have a think about getting your clients 4 walls in place on personal finance proactively. The second tip is that the things that Gabriel and I have been bleating on about for very long now, and our peers and superiors went on about before, things like having a pipeline in place, having an emergency fund in place, having a proactive approach to clients, having a proactive approach to the team, having a proactive approach to commercial partners, and building relationships on a perpetual basis should be norms and not exceptions. It has taken a crisis to get us moving. But now we understand how much our clients value cash flow forecasts, budgets, management information, investment support, and so on. But when this is all over, that does not mean we should revert to type. This is our testing ground to find out just how valuable to our clients this support is, so that when we are through this, we are able to offer it as standard proactively. And for ourselves, a pipeline should certainly be constructed right now about people we can help, both now and after this has blown over. And it should absolutely be teaching us right now that proactivity is the only way we're going to grow our organizations, and the only way that we are of serious help to our clients, getting to them before they get to us. So these things that you see on screen right now are things I would strongly, strongly recommend you have as standard elements of your firm. We haven't had them previously because sometimes we haven't needed them, haven't got round to them, not sure how to do them, lots of different reasons and excuses. But ultimately, when a crisis came, we sprung into action. All of a sudden, we were alert and alive. And for the sake of business owners' well-beings and your own commercial well-being in the longer term, I would strongly recommend that these things become your norms from here on in. And we've got some questions talking about a new normal coming after this, and that would be one new normal I would strongly ask you to put in place. So that's tip 2. Now we move to tip 3.
Okay. And so some of my tips, of course, always are, Martin and I are in sync on much of this. But the typical thing that there's likely much fat, there's waste in your clients, and who knows them better than us, especially if you're their bookkeeper, to be able to work with them to make their business much more efficient. So find the blessing for the clients. And of course, whenever we start stepping into offering services that we haven't in the past, especially doing it proactively, our clients see, I didn't know you could help me with that. I didn't know you could help me with a budget. I didn't know that you could help me, streamline my expenditures. And some call it an expense audit. I don't know if that wording is, I had recently heard that you can't use that, but the point is helping them to become more lean, so that in the end, their new normal in their business is they'll be set up to really grow their business, not just survive, but to actually really grow. Because if they can do reasonably well in difficult times, when it eases up, they'll fly. And you are in the position to help them do that. So then also provide that material support with the cash flow. Think of ways. Can you help them with budgeting? Can you help them implementing a system where they're now building an emergency fund even if it's only putting aside 1%, so that they're able to do that. Help them see the longer view and not just this short-term view too. And then obviously look for new opportunities and relationships that you will build in the process. Maybe there are strategic partners who can also step in and work with you to help the clients, and then you will forge these new relationships that will open new opportunities for you as well. So consider each of these. And again, as I mentioned, the handouts will have some more specific checklists and so forth that you can use. And then my last tip is to stop to look at the situation of your clients from their seat. Because some of us, what I've seen in some of the bookkeeping firms that I'm working with, is that their clients are coming back and saying, hey, can you keep working for us but at a lower price? Or, hey, we're going to have to shut down our service because we're cutting off all of our suppliers because we don't have any cash right now. And then we go into panic mode and start, oh my goodness, I can't get dragged down with my clients. What do I do? Or how dare they ask me to continue to do work for them and get paid less? That's not fair. Well, you're right, it's not. But look at it from their standpoint. What does it feel like? That means they're panicking. So step out of your seat and look at it from where they sit, and then look for how can you work together in a way that is going to help your business, not pull you down, and then help your client as well. And of course, some of this government assistance is a key way to do it, to show them, look, you can still pay me and keep your business going, and here's the plan for it. This is what my recommendations are. So you're looking for the way that will work for you and them. And the illustration to keep in mind on this, because I know many of us want to help our clients, but we also don't want to get sucked into a vortex. There's no reason why we should. Here's the example that we can all relate to right now, is with the medical workers, the heroes in this situation. What is the big challenge, especially here in the US, but globally, is that they don't have enough protective gear. And why does that matter? Because they're helping the sick, but they will get sick themselves. And then if that happens, they can't help the sick. Therefore, they have to have their protective gear. Well, the same with us. If we have clients in specific industries that are really being very hard hit, out of compassion for them, we don't want to get sucked in and get pulled down our business as well. We need to be the leader that can step up and find a way to protect them as well as ourselves. So keep it win-win. It should be balanced, not lopsided in either direction. And if you do that, it will help you to think clearly and not with a scarcity mindset, which during this time is so easy to get sucked into. So with that, we are up to the questions.
So
the resources. Yep. Go ahead.
So at this point, guys, now the main point of this webinar is to answer your questions, and certainly Gabrielle and I actually didn't discuss this before we came on air, but certainly last week we were planning to stay beyond the hour in case you have questions you need to be answered. If we get them all done, that's great, but certainly one of us will stay on air to answer questions as best as we can. We have some already in that I'm going to deal with straight away, and obviously ask for Gabrielle's comment on as well. But this is what we want. This is the main point of this now, guys, is now that we've given you the perspective, now that we've given you the facts and the tips, we want to know what you want to know. We've got fairly broad eyes on the world from an accounting and bookkeeping perspective. We're seeing different markets. We're seeing feedback from different sizes of firms and from their clients. So what would you like to know? And let's see what we can do to help you out. Or if we can't help you out, point you in the direction of somebody who can. So coming to Cindy, first of all. Cindy says, I think the US is a couple of weeks behind the UK. Do you agree? Yes, Cindy, I do. I do agree with that. And the UK are a couple of weeks behind Italy. Our eyes are on Italy. And we're watching that. And we take a general yardstick of being 14 days behind what's happening in Italy. And that's why we've got so many lockdown measures here in the UK now. The government have become very specific on what we can and can't do on this term, flattening the curve. Because Italy's situation has become acute and they're trying to avoid a repeat of that here. So yes, if the US looks to us as perhaps a a barometer as well, 14 days ahead, yes. But I will also keep a close eye on New York because New York appears to be the outlier here, appears to be out of control numbers-wise with the rest of the US. Nancy says, we all have to work together, and that's the tack I'm taking with my clients. Nancy, thank you for that. I'm delighted that that's your outlook, and I'm delighted that that's the approach you're taking with your clients. As I said in the presentation, I'm seeing about 1 in 10, slightly less than 1 in 10, go proactively to their clients. 9 out of 10 either being reactive or doing nothing at all, freezing in panic. So if that's a tack you're taking with your clients, I commend you for that approach. Thank you for that approach, because if I was one of your clients, that's exactly what I would need the message to be. A bit of perspective and calm. So thank you for that. Merrill asks, how do you suggest handling all of this new work when we already have too much work with the current human and financial resources? And I'll ask Gabrielle for her view on this. Merrill, the first thing I would say straight away is ask that question of Google or Apple, and what do you think they'd say? Do you think Google would say, well, we just can't handle it, we haven't got the staff, we haven't got the team, we haven't got the infrastructure? Or do they just get on and work out and figure out what they've got to do to make it happen? The old, we haven't got the capacity, so we can't take on the work, is a contention point as old as my career in accounting. And it has often been used where we can't take on more work because we can't handle the work that comes in. There are so many fixes to that. We could look at changing your client mix. We can look at decreasing labor intensity and having clients doing far more of the process work, which is what a lot of tech enables now. But it's the mindset that's the major issue to change. The I can't grow because I can't handle it. If that was the case, then I would never be able to move beyond 12 clients ever. But there are new ways of offering value. There are new ways of interacting with clients. And one thing that we're seeing right now, is a huge amount of firms waking up to how much productivity is lost in the commute, not just from themselves, but for their team members as well. And how an 8-hour office day translates to about a 3.5-hour home day if you're not interrupted. And so productivity can increase significantly by innovation. But Gabrielle, with you being far more cold-faced than me on that, what would be your answer to Merrill there?
What, to having the capacity? I kind of lost the question.
Yeah, how do you suggest handling all of this new work when we already have too much work with the current human and financial resources?
Well, my answer on that is this is busy time. It's like tax season for those who do taxes. They can work, 16, 18-hour days. You prioritize what's most important. And obviously, if the client's most in need, that you prioritize them and you make room for them. The reality is, if you're in the bookkeeping side, that in order for the clients that really need this support on the government help, their books need to be up to date. So if their books are not up to date in order to put in their applications, then that's a high priority. So my basic answer on it is suck it up, make the time, and prioritize the workload.
Fantastic, thank you. Lisa asks, what skills do we need in order to help our clients in this way? Are we ready? And Gabrielle, I'd love your input on this as well. I'm going to answer this first. What skills we need, Lisa, are what they would usually refer to as soft skills. First of all, proactive, hungry, and caring is my own designation that I use as a phrase. I actually got to care about whether these clients survive or not, and not just because we get paid or don't get paid. So we need the skill of being able to put clients at their ease. We need the skill of being able to understand this, as Gabrielle mentioned in her tip 4 there, is to see it from the client's perspective. What are they going through? What are they feeling? What do they need right now? What can we provide? Okay, these are far more behavioral than they are process-based. We need some software, even if that software is as simple as Excel, to be able to take our clients through these processes of budgeting and get them to understand this. And are we ready? No, we're not, but it doesn't really matter. It's irrelevant. It doesn't matter whether we're ready or not. Got no choice. It's time. It's time whether we like it or not. Gabrielle, what would you say to that?
And I'm always the pragmatist here. Yes, we need to be proactive. That's a skill that we need to have. We need to be willing to move forward and like Martin said, are we ready? No, we're not ready. So don't sit and wait for a training program that's going to take you by the hand to show you how to do all of that. There's not enough time for that. So you have to be proactive and then be willing to do the research when it comes to finding out actually anything. But we have the wonderful Google, which is helpful for that. But I'm also sharing with you, and actually, why don't we just do it now? Stephanie, could you please enable the chat, and then everybody, please tell me whether or not you can see the links to the handouts in there. And if you cannot, we will repost them. Now remember, keep the questions in the Q&A, but go check the chat area to be able to get the links.
And
So
Steph, could you let us know when they're posted in there, please, so we can all take a look? Thank you.
Yeah, please list them.
The chat box is live. If they can't see the links, I'll be happy to repost them.
Yes, please repost them. So the point I'm bringing out is there are resources now that you can get to learn what are the ins and outs, what are the, who qualifies, and I'll tell you that like everybody qualifies. And there's some really sweet deals in there, but the skill that we need is to get, and you know, if that means you're working late, that's what we do. That's what I've been doing so that I could get up to speed on the Paycheck Protection Program, along with the loan forgiveness and the economic injury distress loan and grant. So you want to learn about all of those, and they can be combined. So you have to use the resources that are available. Now the government websites give us some good, I can tell you, give you some facts as of right now, as of this recording, that the applications for the PPP program is going to go live, I guess, on the 3rd, so this Friday, but then it opens where it's not clear yet because it's also opening up another segment on the 10th. So we're not sure where the dividing line in whose applications, but you want to be determining right now, talking with your clients and discussing what's their situation and what's offered. So learning about what's being offered, what fits which clients, and then helping them to get ready to put in the applications. Some of the applications are not going to be too difficult, but there's also some specific situations and areas where there needs clarification. So we're going to be hearing that from the government as well. So you want to plug into the government websites. I've also shared in the handout with the resources, there's a Facebook group that is specifically set up for the CARE Act support, and it's for accountants and bookkeepers. Join that Facebook group, because the person taking the lead on that is digging, he dug into that 880-page law, and he summarized the key points, and he's watching it too. And there's a whole community of people who are jumping in to help clients with that. You want to be one of those types of accountants and bookkeepers. And is it a lot of work? Yes. And you're going to be driven by caring for your clients, and you will prosper from it as well. So great question on the skills, because yeah, we need skills, but the biggest one is to be proactive, and then just dig in and do the work.
And Gabrielle, your answer to that may well have answered this question, but I just wanted to give the question an airing in case you wanted to add anything to it, because I can't. What are your suggestions on how we can support our clients with EIDL and PPP in the US? Okay,
well, the basic understanding from what I've learned so far, so I'd say always go back and double check it all, but I do have a basic good understanding of how these all work together. The PPP you cannot apply for yet, but you will be able to starting on Friday, although I'm not sure where, who goes Friday, who goes the following Friday. But the EIDL, which is that economic injury disaster loan, that has actually been around for a while. So you can apply for that, but here's the thing, it comes with a grant now, which is new. And here's the sweet spot on this. Is you apply for this, and I love the legislators, they're like, yeah, this is gonna happen. And those of us in admin are like, how is that actually gonna work? For the client, or you putting in the application for the EIDL loan, you also request the grant for $10,000. What's required is within 3 days of submitting the application, even if it is denied, you will get the $10,000 grant until that allocated amount is exhausted. There's 1 million businesses that can get it, but there are 30 million businesses in the US. So you have your client will have or you 1 in 30 chance, theoretically, to get this grant. So you want to now be submitting in the EIDL and ask for the grant. Even if you don't think you'll get it, it's worth a shot. It's not going to hurt to put it in. That's free money. And then if they do get the EIDL grant or the EIDL loan and grant, then what you will want to do is then refinance it with the Paycheck Protection Program, because that has a forgivable piece to it. Okay, now that I'm giving you very, very simple pieces here, but you want to do that because the PPP can be, but that's through the bank. You don't get the PPP direct with the SBA. You have to go to an SBA approved bank. And I think that goes to some of what Martin was saying about how the government's putting some pressure on the banks to like, hey, step up here. But the SBA is taking full responsibility. It's very relaxed on who can qualify for these loans. When you see the details, you're going to be like, wow. But part of that loan is forgivable, and it can be paid back over up to 10 years. And the payments on the loans are being deferred, depending on what the bank wants, being deferred from 6 months to a year before they even have to start paying on it. So it's a sweet deal, but that's basically the best, as we can tell, order to do it in to get the best advantage for the client. But the catch is they have to be spending that money on certain things. It can't be going towards profit. So as bookkeepers, there will be work after the clients get this money. We've got to help them manage this money correctly, or they will lose some of the benefits. So educate yourself on this. It is a lot to consume, but you can do it. We are detailed people. Let's use that skill and then put the pieces together and make it happen. So that's the recommendation right now.
Fantastic.
Subject to change.
Everything's subject to change. We have a mixture of comments and questions in the question box. I'm just going to pick out some highlights here. We have Alex saying, I think I've been proactive in advertising the government support to both my clients and a wider audience, and then contacting clients one by one to help with strategy. I'm currently contemplating a new video to advertise good basic strategies for a wider audience. I think we all need to concentrate on being part of the solution, not part of the problem. In Alex's case, I can vouch for this. I've seen it personally. Alex posted a 17-minute video. It must be the only 17-minute video that I have watched in recent times, which did indeed, in a very calm and measured way, outline all the options. It was a superb video, and I gave that feedback to Alex. I expect his next one will be just as good. So yes, he certainly has been proactive in that regard. Nancy says, you just power through. We're used to it. Prioritize the longest term and loyal clients. Yes, Nancy, and you make a point. Guess what happens after this recovery? A collapse at some point in the future that we cannot forecast. But that's the pattern of business all through life. Boom, bust, boom, bust, boom, bust. This is what happens. We can't be panicked by something that we've seen before, in as much as we've seen a downturn before. This is just a different type of downturn. Elizabeth says, yes, we have another opportunity here because tax deadlines have been extended as well.
Yes.
I agree, absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely, Elizabeth. A number of you are saying thank you for the handouts. Thank you very much indeed. You're very welcome. We're delighted to be able to be of service here. A number of you are also asking about the name of the Facebook group that Gabrielle mentioned. That's also in the chat. Go have a look at the chat. The Facebook group is named. His link is in there for you as well. Anonymous attendee. I didn't know we had. What an unusual name to have. Anonymous attendee. Great webinar, guys. I don't have any specific questions, but wanted to share the proactive measures we've taken. Let's take a look at this. We offered 2-month payment holidays to all of our B2C clients in the sector shut down. And I had to stop reading that then because I had more coming on. In the sector shut down by the movement restrictions. This has been incredibly well received and prevented any direct debit cancellations so far. We also connected with every one of our cloud-based clients, which is 99% of our client base, to the Fluidly cash flow reporting app for free.
Nice.
And sent them a video on how to use it. This has created a huge number of positive conversations and allowed us to help clients themselves applying for loans, etc. Anonymous attendee, I want you to tell me who you are.
Yeah, and by the way, Anonymous, that was great because, and look, I want you to, everybody to train your mind to see. So now the clients are suddenly interested in maybe looking at their cash flow and paying attention to budgeting. And now you're giving them something they can start doing themselves. So first of all, you're helping educate them, but it may lead to training. It may lead to regular advisory services with them. They realize now how important this all is. Maybe you've preached that to them in the past and they never listened. They'll listen now. So your advisory trajectory is going to increase going forward because the clients get it now. So
Gabriel,
thank you.
Gabriel, question for you. The Facebook group, it's presumed that the Facebook group is for the US. Is there a UK contingent in there, or is there a UK equivalent at all? Do you know?
Well, it's talking about the US businesses who, you know, it's all US based. It's not going to help for Canada or UK. I would say in principle, go to the UK government websites, do a little Google search and look for those because I'm sure those are available too. But no, this Facebook group is for US.
Okay. Michael says, I have added an other expense category account called COVID-19 expenses for all related expense to be coded to. Linda says, what did you mean by refinancing your EIDL loan into the PPP? I thought a criteria of the PPP was that you couldn't use it for refinancing a debt.
I believe there may be a date period in there of when you can and when you can't. Go in and dig in and find the answers. I do not know every single twist and turn because I'm trying to absorb it all myself as well. But I believe that there may be some date tied to it. Ask the question in that Facebook group because there are several people who have been doing nothing except pulling this whole legislation apart right now. So go in there and ask them. I am also running webinars, so I'm split on being able to give it my full attention.
Okay, our anonymous attendee was Mark. Mark, I have known for a number of years. Didn't know he was on the webinar. Mark, welcome to the webinar. Nice to talk to you. We haven't spoken for a while. We should catch up. But well done for doing what you did there. What's interesting about your comment, Mark, is not only is it proactive, but you've chosen fluidly. And it's very interesting that I was speaking to another cash flow forecasting provider, and they were talking about their biggest challenges. And they said, you know, our biggest competitors are not the likes of Fluidly. Our biggest competitors are Excel and apathy. And I thought that was a fascinating comment to make because, of course, now we're awake and now we're thinking in those terms. And I think organizations like Fluidly, like Float, like Fathom, and all the other Fs have a very big part to play right now. Cindy asks, what apps do you recommend us to look at for cash flow projections? And Gabrielle, I'll come to you first for that before I answer myself.
What app do I use? Yeah, I have never found one that I absolutely loved, but at this moment, what I use is Live Plans functionality because it's built to make it so that the client understands it. But I know there are many. Martin had mentioned a few already. Float is another one that I looked into very much. I just didn't like their price point, but maybe they're offering something better now. I would say you have to, on apps, you always have to figure out what do you need, what do your clients need, because I don't know your client base. And then you look for an app that fits their needs the best. So I would say bottom line, look for whatever's the simplest.
Gary has mentioned Fluidly. Mark has also mentioned Fluidly as well. I think that for 90
Cashflow Frog, I think, is another one.
Yeah, for 90 days and below, guys, Float is the market leader at this moment in time. Beyond that, we're looking at more and more bells and whistles you add in, things like Futurely and Fluidly and Fathom. Also, just while it's in my mind, it also might be worth speaking specifically to our UK contingent to let you know that Satago are currently offering their product for free. That's from a risk profiles and CRM perspective. So if you're worried about who you're doing business with right now, you might want to head across to satago.com, SATAGO, satago.com, to try out their software because it's been offered for free for a limited period right now. Another question, again, far more for you, Gabrielle, than myself. This comes from Trey. And Trey says, in regards to the US IEDL and the PPP programs, how do businesses that have been open for less than a year provide the requested 12 months of revenue stroke COGS info?
As I understand, they don't have to actually be open for a full year as long as they were before, I want to say it's February 15th. But again, I don't know. Don't know every little twist and turn. Ask that question in the Facebook group, because there are, and actually I think that question may be one that I saw already asked in the Facebook group. So go in there, tap into the power of the group, and not just Gabrielle's mind, because it's a little leaky.
And Cindy, thank you very much for pointing out to our previous point. Float also has an offer for free subscriptions through 31st of May. Float's a UK-based solution that has been gathering momentum for about 2 years now, and Colin and the guys in Edinburgh are making some big splashes there. Ruth
Yeah, I
says,
followed Float for quite a while.
yeah, they're coming on well. Ruth's comment just disappeared off the screen. There it is. Ruth was saying, for my clients, where's it gone, Ruth? Where's your comment gone? Your comment just suddenly disappeared off my screen. Okay, so I can't say whatever Ruth was going to say because it suddenly disappeared. But to the question we've also had about, are we recording? Yes, we're recording this, and yes, it will be posted, I presume, in the Advisor Facebook group for you all to take a look at again as well. So guys, according to my list, that's all of our questions right now. We are 2 minutes to the hour, so your timing's superb. But is there anything else that we can answer for you or support you in this time? As you would expect, there is no sell, promotion, product push, or anything from us today. We don't have an end call to action for you. We are providing this simply to try and offer some calm in the storm. So,
I disagree, Martin.
Oh, wow, what do we got?
Yeah, we do have a call to action. Use the resources, help your clients, and go ahead and use any of the advice you're going to give to your clients for your own business too, if you need it, to help you prosper. So there's a call to action.
That type of call to action. I was speaking from a sales perspective as well, you know. But let's see, have we got anything else, guys, that we can help you with before we conclude today? Let's take a look. Oh, there it is. Ruth's comments come back on my screen. For larger monthly clients, I offer splitting their payments in two, and they are loving it. I'm sure they are loving it because it eases cash flow pressure. So I'm sure they are, Ruth, and well done you for doing that.
Yes, and let me share a thought on that, because it's a quick, good thought, and I've seen some resistance from accountants and bookkeepers, and then I've seen others that are willing to do everything for free, and then you've got those like Ruth who are wise and saying, I can defer. Because what will happen with the clients when they realize you care about them and you start asking them, they're like, they're like, thank you, you're so wonderful. I mean, my clients are like, you're so sweet, thank you for asking. So you're finding out about them when they see that you have some real help to offer them. They're going to start getting scared, because if they feel they're in a cash crunch right now, they're going to be like, I need your help, but I can't pay you. How do I do that? Deferral is a wonderful thing, because if you actually help them get some of these loans, guess what? Your services do fall under the what they can be spending that money on. So defer it, help them get the loans and the cash funding, and then they will pay you for your services. It's a win-win. So don't be afraid to defer in a win-win way, because the clients need your help now.
They do. And to answer a question that hasn't been asked here today, but has been asked in other forums that I've been involved in, is it socially appropriate to charge for your work at this time? And the answer is yes, it is. If you are doing work, you should be getting paid for doing work. That hasn't stopped all of a sudden because of a crisis. Again, please bear in mind the reason we're in lockdown is to prevent spread. Not that many of us, as a percentage of the population, would actually fall seriously ill even if we got it. We're trying to relieve the pressure on infrastructure. That's what the government is trying to do. It's trying to relieve pressure on infrastructure. That's why we're all in lockdown. Apart from that, for many of us, business hasn't changed. There are still deals to be done. There is still people who need our help. And for the right value proposition, people will still pay money. So if you are doing work, providing value for your client, then yes, of course, you still bill and get paid. And if it is that the client offers for preferable or favorable payment terms, that is your own discretion to decide as to whether that is for you to do or not. But for as much as possible in that regard, it is business as usual. Again, the panic suggests that everything suddenly has to stop. And that's why I think President Trump has caught a lot of flack for saying that the US wants to be back open again by Easter Sunday. And of course, he's changed his tack on that now. But I can see what he was trying to do. He was trying to get people to snap out of the mindset of, well, everything's stopped now, everything's over, and get the country back to work. Now, he didn't do it necessarily all that well, but nevertheless, he was, I can see what he was trying to do there. And our own Prime Minister here, Boris Johnson, has said if we will toe the line on these social distancing measures, then we will send coronavirus packing in 12 weeks, was his personal statement there. So we've got to understand that we don't suddenly freeze and corpse and panic because the reality has changed. We adapt, we keep judgment and wisdom, and we go help because that's what we're best at.
Excellent. All right, so as mentioned, we will have the replay available if you want to go back and catch any piece of it. But otherwise, go forth and learn what you need to learn so that you can help your clients and help yourself, and we will all help one another to get through this. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.